What up, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Live number 137. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day, morning, evening. For me, evening, but I know people from all over the world watch the stream, and it could be morning for you. So today, how's it going, Marilyn? I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? Today we are tackling the capital C and the capital E. Two letters that I enjoy, but I want them to be a little bit nicer. So we're gonna dive in. Choked out with cigarette smoke, that's no good. Is there cigarette smoke in your home? They're not the easiest of letters, that is for sure. But we're gonna tackle them today. I printed out a few alphabets here. First one from A.D. Taylor, just to have a reference. I think that E is essentially perfect. It's pretty much exactly what I'm going for. And then I also printed out Lupfers, which I also consider to be perfect. What are actually the differences between those two? Lupfers is a little more... Can I get both of them in frame? Lupfers is a little more angular, which naturally I will likely write this one, but they are pretty darn close to being identical. Just one is obviously smaller than the other. So these are the goals. Hello, polished and assembled. Good evening to you. Sorry to hear about that, Marilyn. That's no fun. Alright, so we got Taylor's, Lupfers, and then I printed out a darner as well, which his doesn't look the exact same as Lupfers, but it's also a beautiful example. They're all pretty darn similar though, because they're all pretty darn gorgeous. Hello, Siles. How you doing? Hey, how's it going, Benny? So I think I'm gonna do what I always do. I was gonna say I'm gonna have Lupfers on top, because that's about closer to the angle that I write most of the time, but I really like darners, and it's a slightly larger example in this printout, so I'm gonna have darners here for my reference. And we're gonna start with E before we do the C. I think. Do walnut ink again today. How's everybody's day going? All right. Yeah, E and C. I enjoy writing, but I don't write them as good as I want to. Particularly, my trouble points are this curve, usually anyways, this curve right here going into the C. I often go down here and then sort of straight shoot up. Whoops, wrote on my page by accident. Instead of keeping this nice undercurve there. And then not a super smooth transition for me all the time. Either it's too pointy or the taper into the shade is too dramatic. And then with the E, for me it's keeping this hairline. I end up applying weight too soon, so I don't get this hairline coming out of the little loop before the shade starts. And then oftentimes my shade will get like a little kink in it right about this point there. So working to iron that out today with some exercises and drills, and obviously some playtime thrown in, because I can't work that diligently. I'm a member of the Slacker table, after all. Ooh, hard wax oil on some stands. That sounds good. I spent a good chunk of today putting a clear poly finish on a new desktop to go behind me. It's currently behind my computer because it was rainy last night, so I had to bring it in. How's it going, Olivia? I gotta sand down my last coat that I did though, because it dries really quickly and it's a really big surface. And I think I did it in too long of chunks, so I can see the drying point in the middle. I can see sort of the seam. Unfortunately, rookie mistake. Take our time with the warm-ups today. Have a chill vibes stream. Yeah, I had to break it up because it's 10.5 feet long and about 2 feet deep. So I had to break it into about like 2-foot chunks all the way across, which is not ideal, but I think if I did it in slightly smaller chunks, then the seam wouldn't have been as visible for the first coat. But I can do plenty of coats. Yeah, it's huge. It's the width of my living room, so it goes 10.5 feet all the way across. So there'll be 10.5 foot down here, and then there'll be a space, and on either side there'll be a half one on that side and a half on the other side, and then above that there'll be a full 10-foot shelf, then 10-foot shelf above that, and then above one more time on this side only there'll be one more shelf up by the roof. So it'll give me a ton of storage behind me and shelving and all that, and hopefully it looks good. But the first and most important part is the big board to replace this one, which is the one that I'm working on right now. I feel like I haven't been able to focus my brain on really anything since this project started, because it's just been in a state of started but not finished for way too long. Some delays my own fault, other delays not my fault. Today, yes, Benny, we're using Rhodia Ice today. I debated using black paper with white ink today, and I may switch it up at some point as we go. But yeah, we're on Rhodia Ice at the moment with walnut ink. Sounds good. Oh, that was the issue last week. Okay, well, that's good to know. Do I have a favorite paper? My favorite papers change. The paper I use the most, I would say, for practice over the years is by Mohawk. It's called Via Smooth writing paper, but it has a bit of texture to it. It's a little bit toothy. I think Rhodia is probably my favorite over that paper, but I like the feel of that little bit of tooth sometimes, and it also forces me to have a really, really light hand. But sometimes the smoothness of Rhodia is just very enjoyable. Ooh, we're not very consistent with our indirect ovals today. CVS caliber wide ruled college ruled paper. Never tried it. CVS for the win. A stream fly? What's a stream fly? Does that mean there's a bug in your home, Marilyn? Yeah, I like that. Like one of the things I like about the Via Smooth paper, I like the way the hairlines look with it. If I'm using a super sharp nib, a nib that I had just sharpened or something, I have to be very, very mindful so that it doesn't snap though. So it's not the best paper in the world. I think Rhodia is definitely a bit more no nonsense, but it is more expensive. So for practice, I tend to not use it quite as much. How's it going, Eric? Nice to see you. I just saw your Norfolk post on Instagram. I have to write one as well. I gotta decide if I want to do a fancy signature-like looking Norfolk design or how I want to do it. I liked the N that you chose in yours. How's it going, Ojaswini? I was wondering where you were. Late Ojaswini today. I think I'm going to start a little bit bigger with the capital E, rather than keep it like my instinct is to go in here like so size, but I think I'm going to do it a little bit bigger just for practice sake. Now, for those of you who weren't here in the very, very beginning, tonight I'm working on the capital C and the capital E, starting with the capital E for a while, and I'm using an exemplar here by A.D. Taylor, and one by H.L. Darner, and then one by E.A. Lupfer. Lupfer and Taylor are my favorite of the two, or of the three, but I just really quickly wanted to print out a few examples of some E's and C's that I really, really like. My favorite, obviously, those of you who know me know that I love Lupfer, and that would be my ideal E. And then Taylor's is very, very similar, so I have that one as well. And then Darner's, a little smaller loop and a little bit more of a hook on top, which I like. But again, a very beautiful entrance into shade. He has the lower angle on his center loop versus more, not quite horizontal, but a little more horizontal on Taylor's. And then I would say Lupfer's is a little more like Taylor's. Lupfer's is basically just the exact same as Taylor's in this instance. They're almost identical, minus Lupfer's is a little more angled, which I will likely tend to do naturally. We'll put Taylor's here on top, just for reference. I want to look here. This was, where do they have the baseline going here? That's his baseline, so he's not quite bisected his with his exit oval, unless of course his intention baseline is right there and not what the rest of the letters are sitting on. But if we pick that as our baseline, that's the top, the middle being right about there. So he hits that right in the middle. One thing I find interesting with the C all the time. Hello, Abjeet. Welcome, welcome. No worries, Silas. You have an hour-long bus ride to school? Holy moly. That's a long time. You have early morning live. One other thing of note, okay, just looking at, just want to compare real quick how much farther out the exit stroke, because obviously this oval is huge compared to these littler ovals, but I have a tendency to make this, it feels like it sticks out really far to the right, but I guess technically, like in the one that I just did, sticking out a little more than his, but not terribly. Let's get it in our bones. Eric, I can't remember. Are you going to convention this year? If you're still here? I can't recall if you said you were going or not. Negative? Oh no. Why not? A bad habit of doing my nice lower half of this oval and then cutting off the inside one a little too soon, so it makes it look like it's an up-angled oval when it's just a cut off horizontal oval. Ah, that makes sense. That's too bad. Yeah, I have a feeling the 4th of July is conflicting with a few people's schedules this year. Yeah, it'll be a new crowd. I think there's quite a few new people this year again. Seems like that's the case every year, though, lately. We think we got all of the calligraphers in the world. And then there's always like a whole group of new people. Coming out very round. Well, that's not the worst thing if it's a style you're going for. I believe it was Tamblyn who actually used to, for coming out of the M, I think is the lesson he talks about it in. He talks about using a dime as reference, I believe. And his exit is quite round. Interestingly. Not a style that I'm a super fan of, but magnesium glycinate. Interesting. Now, wait, you work in a medical field. What is that? What is magnesium glycinate? If I'm saying that right. Eric, do you know? I certainly don't know. They have never explained it on the TV show The Good Doctor. Oh yeah, Marilyn, do you know? We got a lot of medical peeps in the house. One helps to absorb calcium, the other will unease your trips to the facilities and doesn't do much. Can't remember which it is. Oof. Consistency is not the one tonight. Yikes. I used to watch Grey's Anatomy a billion years ago. But I've been making my way through The Good Doctor recently. Quite enjoying it. Magnesium glycinate is good for stomach health. YouTube's algorithm wants you to have good stomach health, Eric. YouTube doesn't want people to be blocked up. Apparently. That's better. One of the good ones. One of those good magnesiums. Well, now everybody knows. That's the idea. Am I continuing the Scottish beard? No, I'll keep it shaved too. I guess I didn't shave this week, but I'll keep it trimmed. I'm gonna keep a beard, but I won't grow it out any longer than it is now, really. I'll probably shave it tomorrow. Or trim it, rather. I guess it's not shave, trim. No growing, no braiding, exactly. I thought about growing it longer, but it just looked disheveled. Alright, now I have to get in the habit of something I've never been that good at, and that's this little oval with that tiny accent shade on it. Obviously, we're gonna work on it without the accent shade first, but that little oval at the top has always been not the most enjoyable for me. Whoops. Because I cut in too soon instead of going up and over. I gotta go up and over out of it. So it's like essentially, it needs to be like a spiral. That's where that business penmanship practice would come in handy, I guess. Accent shades are the best. That's one of the things that... Sorry, bad timing for a drink, for a sip. It's one of the things that I like the most about the specimens and things that I see. The slight accent shades that are more so a product of just the speed and the way they were writing, and when an accent shade was intentionally added, the control to have it be like half the width of the main shade, or just finer than the main shade, to not take focus away. finish this here instead of down there. A little farther out, that top corner. Benny, I don't like to. I feel like when shades are retouched, you can always tell, especially accent shades, because they come so finely out of and into a hairline. You can pretty much always tell when they're retouched, and I feel like it's possible without retouching, so I want to figure out how to do it without retouching, basically. You can retouch anything, but I feel like it's possible to do it without retouching, so that's kind of the way I want to be able to do it. Sort of like that. That one was a little all over the place. Retouching on the lowercase? No, I don't do that either. The only time I guess I retouch on a lowercase, if I'm doing a piece for somebody and I go through and I notice a shade isn't usually correct. But I mean, I guess I could, like if there was a bunch of ends and I wanted to go back in and add a shade like that on the end. But I'd rather just add it as I'm going. T, D, and P, I personally don't. Again, unless I have to. If I do a piece and it's not as clean or as crisp as I want to. But like with the T, I prefer to not retouch it. I'd rather just do the flat top and everything in sort of one go. Same with the D. If I do like a finished thing or a letter that I want to look really good, and I see that something is not quite as crisp as it could be, once it's dry I could go in and clean it up, but usually I don't. Whoops, pulled that one too low. I feel like if you just pull that shade, there's really no need for a retouch. Yeah, if I was gonna retouch something, I would definitely clean my nib. I'd wait for the ink to dry. I wouldn't retouch, if I was gonna retouch these, I wouldn't retouch them the way they are right now. I would wait till they dry, like this first shaded stroke that I did. Then I would go back in. And if I'm being completely honest with you, so let's say that this was a piece. This is a finished piece. This is a beautiful finished piece that that was for somebody to frame or something like that. I would get very little ink on my paper. And then because of the angle that my nib is at, if I was going to try to retouch this T, the part that I don't like is right there on the bottom side. It has a little divot in it. I don't know that I'm zoomed in enough for you guys to really see that today. And my camera is too far away to zoom in any closer. But if I was gonna retouch that for real, which again I rarely do, I would actually go all out and do it this way. I would turn it upside down, I would get really close, then I would come at it this way and fill that in like that, if I was gonna do that. And that's just that comes from, I think, when I was painting shoes. I could paint a clean, if this is my shape, I would consider the inside line because it's closer to my hand, and this would be the outside line. I could paint a clean inside line, but my outside line's always going to be cleaner because it's the way my brush is going this way. So I would paint this way, turn the shoe upside down, paint this way, so I was always painting from the inside out. If that makes any sense at all. So that's how I would always do it. Every, like, even a hairline or any line that I would paint, if it was just a line like this, a hairline would obviously just be a thin hairline, but if it had any bit of width, I would paint going this way, one line that way, and then I would go to the other side, again, upside down, or it was a shoe, so I could easily flip it around, and then I would paint the other side to the proper width, and then I would go back in from either side and fill it. That's how I paint everything, so that's how I would retouch. So if we were doing, like in Grosser Script, it'd be the same idea. If I had a shade, an engrosser shade, and you can see here there's a little like whoop right there coming out of that shade. If I wanted to fix that, I would wait for this to dry, and then if we just pretend it's dry, I would then come in from this way, which I know this is overkill and unnecessary, but this is just how I would do it. I would come in from this side and push that ink from this side, rather than do it from this side, because I can't see exactly what's going on, so I would always do it that way. But for the most part, I try to not retouch at all. Not because there's anything wrong with that. I like the idea of not doing it. And with ornamental penmanship, I mean, it is what it is. It's how it comes out of the nib. If I did more engrosser script finished pieces, I would likely retouch a lot of them so they were perfect, or as close to perfect as I could get them. But when it comes to ornamental penmanship, I just kind of like my penmanship to be what it is, the way it came out of my pen that day. If I wrote somebody a letter and it's not perfect, then, I mean, that's just the way it is. That's a true representation of where my hand was at the time of writing. Do you have any of your show art? I don't really have much in the way of show art. I have made one scrapbook of writing, which Eric owns. But I don't have a lot of pieces of art. I truthfully haven't done a whole lot. Yes, thank you very much, Eric. It was part of the Iampith silent auction. Was that last year? No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago? 2 years ago. That was last year? Oh man, my brain is all blending together. That was last year, wowzers. But yeah, when it comes to finished pieces, I don't have a lot of finished pieces. My leather work that I do is for commission, so it goes out immediately after I finish. I should make a digital sort of scrapbook of ornamental pieces and things like that I've done, but I don't really have that. How's it going, Shaq? Hello, Lam. Welcome, welcome. Ooh. Ornamentalists? I like ornamentologists. Ornamentologist. I like that a lot. really wish there wasn't... This is the problem with the way that I do my practice over top of other practice and so close. That one came out really good. I didn't do an accent on the entry. But yeah, this part. Having this be a hairline long enough before going into the shade is tough without it going like way over here. Oh, saved shoe photos. Yes. You can go, there's an Instagram account called Custom Swaves, SWAVES. I used to have a website, but I stopped paying for the URL a number of years ago, and I hosted my website on a different server, so it no longer exists. But the Instagram account, Custom Swaves, has a lot of my old shoes that I used to design, or used to paint for people. Too far. I don't know what happened right there. The theory is, the goal is, if I start writing large like this, then I can shrink it down afterwards. Because the ideal goal, height or size, would be something like this. But that's uncontrolled. So custom, CUSTOM, and then SWAVES. Yes, I've had a beard before. I had a goatee for a while. Once upon a time I did, what was it? It was like Johnny Depp facial hair a long time ago. Ish. But my mustache grew in very blonde, so it never had the right look and grew in very slow. And it definitely, the rest of it wasn't white like it is now. 2016. I wasn't that young. I was in my 30s. It was funny when I did the dance competition tour this season. An old friend of mine came up to me, and I only see these like people once a year at the dance competition, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, how do you still look so young? Or you look so young?" I said, "How's that possible? I have a white beard. I can't possibly look young." But it's the way it is. Oh, 2012? A long time ago. I was still not that young. Young me was very young me. Like graduation Mike was like a 12-year-old. Basically. Ageists. Today feels like it's not gonna be a great writing day. My hand feels all over the place. Oof. Here we go. Trying too hard. Gotta relax. Liking how this shade looks right there. And I like how this beginning, if I could put that beginning on that little loop, I'd be happy. I must be strung out today. Tension in my shoulders. My chair could maybe come up a little bit. Perhaps. Too angled. Wait, is that more angled than Lupfers? A little bit. Biggest difference is keeping that round. I tend to flatten up that top bit. And still not letting this go all the way up there. Well, hello, Mom. Long time no see indeed. Ooh. It's the best one today, I think. There's that kink I was talking about, getting into that shade. Pulling this so long, I need to cut it off a lot sooner. Not too shabby. Too soon. And this. What's up with that? This needs to be lower. It's almost as low as the center loop, isn't it? That's the best entry oval we've done so far. The perfect little accent shade, just a little bit, but it doesn't lose its shape. This still could be a little bit wider out here. Quite happy with that little accent. Whoa. Nope. You're feeling ancient, Benny. You can't be ancient. Age is just a number. My age makes absolutely no difference to me. Oh, I didn't see Annie's. Need to go. So long, Annie. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. Have fun studying. I agree. Being in your 40s isn't that bad. I don't mind it. Hmm. Getting this weird shape in the exit oval sometimes. That's a good one. I agree with what Eric just said. I saw a video actually today that I sent to a friend of mine, and then my comment was, if this isn't me when I'm older, I'm gonna be unhappy. And it's an old man, and if I'm remembering correctly, there's a birthday cake in front of him, and the guy behind the camera asks, how old are you? And the old man says 76 or something like that. And the guy behind the camera goes, nope, higher. And he goes, what? Can't be high. And he starts counting, and he gets higher and higher, and then he's up to like 76, 80, 86, 90, and he gets up to like he is 98 years old, but he's counting his way, and when he finds out he's 98, holy moly, and he uses some choice language that I won't say on stream, but it's quite funny, and it's not like, doesn't seem like dementia or anything like that. He just forgot how old he was, and was genuinely shocked by his actual age. He didn't believe that could be correct. Well, and also, Dick Van Dyke, for a number of years when he was in his 80s and 90s and 70s, I think, as well. I don't know the exact age, but he was an old man. He would still have an ice cream sundae every night before going to bed. That was one of the sort of facts he put in his book. He has a book called Keep Moving, that for anybody who is interested in the idea of like always moving, staying young, mentally young, keeps you physically healthy, all that kind of stuff. I highly recommend checking out Dick Van Dyke's book. I like the audiobook version because he narrates it himself. I've never actually read it, I just listened to him read it, and it's a great book. Not sponsored or anything, obviously. I read it or listened to it a number of years ago, and it's a good one. What's it called? Keep Moving, I believe is what it's titled. Keep Moving? Always Moving? Keep Moving, I think it's called. It was one of the first books I got when I got my Audible subscription. I've recommended it to countless people over the years because it's just so good. Too low. Too much gusto going into that shade. I need to relax. Do I dance differently in my Canadian tap shoes? My tap shoes are not Canadian. My tap shoes are American. Made overseas somewhere. I wear a tap shoe called the Block Jason Samuel Smith. J-Sams, we call them. Not Canadian. Oh, are you looking at the shoes? Those aren't mine. No, those were for a customer, a friend of mine named Andrew. Andrew Merrigan. He actually has a maple leaf pair and a American flag pair as well. Yeah, those are mine. Smooth. Gotta relax. There's a lot of shoes there. I don't think they're all there, unfortunately. I kind of stopped posting for a while. The website had more, I believe. Too far that way. Fluvog loafers. I don't know what those are, but they sound fun. I need to get rid of a bunch of shoes. I have all of my old Jordans that I don't wear anymore. I basically just wear, well, lately, just my Vessies, my waterproof shoes. And then Converse Chuck Taylors. I haven't worn any of my Jordans or any of, like, my Docs, or any of my old Nike Dunks. I haven't worn any of my old Nikes in a long time. So I gotta decide. I should probably just get rid of most of them, or all of them. I feel like if my name started with E, I would create some kind of a logo that's based on this type of a pattern. With like this thicker stroke here. All solid lines though. I don't know why, but I feel like that would be my logo. If I had a company or anything that had anything to do with the letter E, which I don't. Whoops. Question for everybody, actually. I'm curious. In the realm of E's, do you guys prefer the E that starts with the little oval like we're doing today? Or like we're doing right now? Or do you prefer the E that starts with a horizontal oval? Like so. Between the two, I know some people prefer this one. But that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking between these two. Horizontal entry oval. Good. I really like the horizontal entry, but I've been really wanting to nail the version we've been working on today. I think historically I always did, I don't know if historically is the right word. To date, I've always done, I sort of default to the horizontal entry on most anything. Like so. But that suffers from the same issue I mentioned I had with the capital C, where sometimes this curve, instead of staying in a nice curve, I've mentioned this on stream a number of times, instead of staying a nice curve, it can tend to jut and go straighter up at one point. I find when I do the horizontal entry, I have a tougher time with the little loop in the middle than I do when I do this one. When I do this variation, the little loop has more space and it's bigger. When I do the horizontal entry, for whatever reason, everything ends up being tighter and the shade starts sooner. I don't know if that's because I have more momentum going into it. Whoa, that was not right. Let's try that again, shall we? Yeah, I just don't have the same, like, I guess it's because it almost comes out of a spiral. So the pen is already in like this motion so much. Versus when I do the horizontal entry, this feels like it wants to be the top of an S, or it wants to be the top of a G or something like that. So it's more condensed. It doesn't go around as much on this side, which then I don't have the fluidity of going into that little loop, I guess. The follow through, I suppose. Oh, I'm tired tonight. Not tired. I'm worn out today. I think when the stream is over, I gotta do, I think, one more coat on my desktop before I go to bed. What about the horizontal entry with the little loop shade on the upper part of the E itself? You mean something like this? Something like that? That actually came out quite nice. Not a very big shade, but had some fluidity to it. Is that what you meant, Lanai? Not making any hints. I don't think about the Black Light Party. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I have no control over it. I actually quite like that. I don't know if I've done that before. Not what you meant. Okay, now I need to try to figure out what you meant. What about the horizontal entry with a little loop? A little top shading on the upper part of the... Oh, a little, you mean an accent shade on the top part of the E? Like this? Is that what you meant? With an accent shade on the top part? that might also not be what you mean. That's what you meant. Okay. Yeah, it needs to be much more of an accent than that. And then I have to transition when I get to this point here. I have to transition my brain to go out here. I need to round out that left side, I think, is what's causing my issue with the horizontal entry. So that oval is more asymmetrical than it would be in like an ascender or in the top of the S or the L. Something like that. Still, those little loops are so tiny. Just doesn't have the same feeling. Too angled. That's the idea. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, question for Eric again. I have lots of questions for Eric tonight. You retraced the T? I didn't think you retraced the T. I thought you did it in one stroke most of the time. Hello, Cheryl. Australia in the house. Where about in Australia are you from, Cheryl? Out of curiosity. Got you. I didn't think so. I didn't think you retraced a ton, but... Was it... Correct me if I'm wrong, in the Discord, it was you, right, Eric, who had... You posted that thing of all the pieces just like a couple weeks ago, but it was misaligned, or they didn't match up. And then that's when Walker said that he does it in one stroke, so that doesn't happen? Does that mean that? Is that what he meant? It's so weird doing that downstroke in one Feels so strange. Definitely, I mean, if I slow down, but it feels weird. I guess if I slow down, it doesn't look like it's slowing down, which means that's a free pass to slow down. If you can slow down and it doesn't look slow. As long as you still have fluidity in it. I used to do the whole thing. How did I used to do it? I used to go... It was an undercurve, and then I would apply the weight, and then do my downstroke. So it ended up looking like that. Once upon a time. I don't do it like that anymore, but it gave the right look, sort of, most of the time. Because I never liked lifting, once upon a time. Oh, he brings his shade all the way to the baseline. Got you. Is that a Mataraz thing? It's just been so... It's so ingrained in my hand now to do my tea. But there's always instances like that where you do your undercurve and then you miss that lineup, which is always a battle. Because it is quite easy to misalign those. Guess you can also shade all the way to the baseline that way. I can't go fast though. I definitely get a sort of curve that way when I do that. Which I could train that away, I suppose, but... Curious. So many ways to do so many strokes. Letters. Cheryl is from Sydney. Right on. I like Sydney. I've only ever been once, but I enjoyed it there. When I do the horizontal entry on the E, I like having the compound curve stroke like that in it. Oh, wasn't a very good one, but... Takes the pressure off, and it gives me that immediate curve to the left, which I miss with the normal horizontal entry oval variation. It's a fun one. I like using that compound curve for lots of things. It's sort of become my... If I find a letter to be weird or difficult, it's my go-to. For example, if I'm doing a capital L, I will often change it to be something like that. Or same thing with the S. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I like it. It is indeed. I think the reason I like it so much is I know that my issue going into the horizontal or coming out of the horizontal oval, the same with what I had mentioned earlier with the C, not continuing that nice curve under here. If I do the compound curve, then it takes that away, because you can see here, it's a good example of it. Beautiful, curvy, 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 nice, and then about this point it goes, starts to sort of beeline up there. Not drastically, but I would rather it stayed curvy, 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 curvy the whole way. Which is just a habit that I have to break. And, if I'm being honest, after taking my sort of 2 or 3 month break for the dance competition season this year, coming back to it, back to writing after a long unintentional break, it has been nice to, I feel like I've noticed and have been finding it easier, an easier battle sort of fighting some of those habitual habitual strokes that I make. Oof. Descenders are not the one today. Or ascenders, I mean. Exactly. That is very true. Muscle memory is great. And I consider sort of penmanship training similar to like sports. It's muscle training more so than it is eye training. Like if we go slower, then it's more so eye training because you make everything exactly shaped the way you want it to. The curves are exactly how you want them and where you want them. But when we go fast, it's muscle training. And if you ingrain that bad habit, oof, it's hard to get rid of. I say that from experience. I have quite a few bad habits that I would love to kick. That was a pretty good one. one habit that I'm also trying to break at the moment when it comes to letters like E, O, and ones like that. I want to crank these out at super angular. So I would do the E oftentimes something like this. Super angled. Which, if I'm being 100% honest, just feels so much better in my arm. But I want it to be much more upright. This is basically much more what I'm going for, what my arm wants to do. So it's been a constant battle recently trying to iron out that little bit. A lot of push-pulls. And whatnot to get myself to work a little more upright. Not all the way upright, but whoa, bad exit oval for some reason. The E, the D, and the R. Well, the E and the D are quite easy to go together. As one just sort of simple idea for a connection, regardless of how you start the E, you can continue this exit oval into a horizontal, small horizontal entry into the D, like so. Then you can go from there down into the D. What's the last letter? R. Oh, and then this can just go... That gets a little messy in there, I guess. Something like that. Or what else you could do... For the E, you could do an entry or an exit. It goes something like this. Well, actually, you could have the D be inside the E. Do something like this. Wait. Could do something like that, EDR. If those are your initials, is one idea. Initials are fun because you can just be playful with how the letters go together. That's very true, and yep. And this one might, this is maybe a little too on the complex side, potentially. But best thing you can do as far as trying to connect, if you're trying to connect capitals for a signature, is just to get, I would write them as basic as possible. Like if you write a D, or sorry, that's an E, And then you write a D. And then you write an R. And then you can think of ways to connect them. Like what else could you do, technically? Oh, yes, I remember you saying that last week. Lene, sorry. My apologies. I actually had an internal dialogue earlier going, I'm pretty sure it was, I fully had the exact thing that you just told me, rhymes with Renee, but the opposite, and I don't know what I chose to say rhymes with Lenai. But I had convinced myself internally that I had it right, and that I was remembering correctly, because I remember you correcting me last week. Sorry. I wonder if you could come out of the E with something like this. This might not work at all. Not a clean shade on the end, but if you want to get unusual, there's an unusual one for you, and actually you know what would probably fit better in there than that variation of the R. Maybe. Something like that could also work. I like that E, actually. I like the way that looks. That makes me really want to do an E and a J a lot. EJR, whoever that is. I mean, that's a fun, this is a really unusual, neat one, which is kind of cool. Is it sleepy time for Ojaswini? Trying to think of another way to come out of that D as well, potentially. To get an unusual R, since the rest of it's on the unusual side. We do something like this, maybe. It's an ugly R, but a neat variation so that everything is a little bit on the different side. Don't fall asleep, Marilyn. Sweet dreams to you. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week. Sweet dreams. Coffee, calisthenics. I really like that E going into. That's a fun. I enjoy it. Piecing together signatures is so fun. I need to do more of that. I think that's what we're going to do next week. I think I'm going to do another ask Instagram to give me some signatures or names, initials rather. And I can do some for fun. You can see whenever it goes quite far out that way, this flat line, that's when the going angled and fast sort of takes over. My muscle memory wants to jut out that way on that extreme angle, and I have to stop it. Oh, yeah. The air conditioner makes you sleepy. Interesting. Starting that shade too soon. That's better. I don't have an air conditioner, but I need a new fan for my apartment. I was shopping on Amazon for fans the other day, and I think I decided, because I'm a weirdo, I want to buy a large computer fan, because it's super silent and super efficient and whatnot. A computer cooling fan, and turn it into a sort of window fan for not air conditioning, but just circulating some outside air into my apartment for the summer. I decided I'm gonna make my own. It's about the same as buying one off from Amazon that comes from China or whatnot. I feel like I can buy a really good fan and then build a wood frame for it or something like that. I do watch DIY Perks. I'm not nearly as many of the things that he makes. I wish I could make or I want to make. He does some pretty fun projects. I think I have to bring this, like with this E, I think this exit stroke has to be like there. That's what I need to get the sort of ratio and shape right. I make my exit stroke too small now. It never used to be a problem. Oh, that's the idea. Look for me. Look for me. Not far off. His top. He has a nicer round top up here. Easier to look at it on the screen. Not bad. You should do it, Lene. Bang a microphone. Why not? The coolest thing about soldering, you can always desolder things. The bad thing about it is if you're not careful and you could overheat a circuit board or something, you gotta be careful not to melt things. That's what I did. My most recent soldering project. I don't know if I've showed these on stream before. I was actually gonna wear them tonight, but I can't wear them when I have the bowler hat on. And I didn't feel like doing my hair. These my headphones. I took them apart and soldered in these little connectors inside. I drilled holes and spacers and soldered in these little connectors so the cables are changeable, which is kind of fun. And I just had to be really careful that when I did the soldering that I didn't melt all the plastic when I was soldering onto the little circuit boards inside the drivers. Soldering is a fun skill. I'm glad I learned it when I was in school. I don't use it terribly often, but it comes in handy every now and again. Do I need headphones that have a replaceable or removable cable? Not really. But I find it cool and fun. And actually for stream, because as you can see, I only wear one headphone. I like to keep my other ear empty. If I was wearing those headphones, I would just have one cable plugged in and I would completely unplug the other cable. I think that's was my initial inspiration for doing it in the first place. But I can't remember. And then when I get my shelving unit finished, whenever that happens, I'm gonna also solder some LED panels to go, just some lighting to go behind the shelves, I think. And because it's so long, pre-packaged solutions I don't think will do the trick, so I'm gonna solder my own LED strips and stuff, I think. Oh, and then I soldered in the little control box for my ink stirrer as well. Yeah, it comes in handy. Oh, that's fun. What kind of a model will just Winnie? Yes, I will show the control box for my ink stirrer. This is my ink stirrer. You guys have seen that little guy before. And then, oh, can I get it into frame without wrecking anything? Here, let me unplug it. Just a second. Don't unplug my camera and other things attached to this USB hub. Which cable is it? Don't unplug the wrong one. This one. Here we go. So it's not plugged in, so I can't show you, but this turns on or off. So this is what controls the speed of the spinning. And inside there, it would always spin way too fast. So I needed to add some resistors, I believe. I don't remember how many ohms, but I did some testing and then I soldered in some resistors. I think 2 resistors. And inside some shrink wrap, so that the control speed would be more manageable and wouldn't spit ink everywhere. Yep, I use the ink stir when I use white ink or anything like that, because it continuously stirs it, so it stops the gouache or whatever it is from settling and separating. So it's always an even opacity and mix. Not a speed dialer. Speed dialer? It has a little wheel. It has a little... Yep, that's exactly what it is, Shaq. But the way the little box was programmed, the slowest speed was already... It wasn't like slowest speed was off and the top speed was its top speed. The slowest speed was still too high. And I didn't know exactly how to, on the PCB board of it. Are there ones out there that are 0 to higher? Probably. But yeah, this one sort of, when it turns on, it had a minimum speed, and its minimum speed was just too fast. So all I wanted to do was just limit the power, because I didn't even need the top speed. I just needed a lower speed. So I limited the power a little bit to it with a resistor. And it got the job done. Is it a perfect solution? There's probably better ones out there, but it works. An ink vortex. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have nibs like the bygone eras, easily accessible. Oops. That would make me very happy. One. Try to do some with really big shades to see if I can keep them smooth. I say that, but these shades aren't any bigger. Oops. I think the biggest issue that makes nibs not as good today, yes, it's the quality control and that kind of stuff, but a lot of it is just the steel, I think. Quality of steel, the cost of a good steel. I wish we could find a company that was willing to invest in new technology for like stamping the nibs and cutting the nib slits and everything, because the old machines were great, but they required a lot of quality control, and I don't believe that there's not a better way that it could be done. Do I know what that better way is? No. But I feel like there has to be a better way to do it, though finding that better way would be expensive. I'm also intrigued about the idea of materials. Some kind of composite metal or carbon fiber type of thing. I don't know. None of those may work, but I feel like there's an option out there. It's just a matter of the expense. You designed a fountain? Like a fountain in a park? I always thought it'd be neat to be an architect, but I don't think I'd enjoy it long term. Not very smooth in there. For some reason. Ah, cool. Oh, that's the model of a fountain. Got you. Understood. For a sec, I was imagining in my head. I didn't know you were a model maker. Imagining you making, like, you know, kids at home making, like, car models or, like, Gundam or anime models. Oh, I didn't. Maybe you collected anime models. Yeah, I would definitely enjoy it, but doing it every day, all day, would drive me crazy, I think. Sounds good. I don't even think I'm logged into that account anymore. It's been quite a while since I've posted on it. I don't do shoes anymore. Unless it's a passion project for a friend or something like that. Ugh. sucks the life out of you. That's no good. That's no good at all. Use the back of this other sheet. Save paper today. I guess we should also do, we've done nothing but E's today. We should do some C's as well. Work on that curve part. This is my ideal C. Like so. I also like Darner's C. Very similar, but the shade is a bit longer. Can't fit them both in the screen at the same time, unfortunately. Between the two, I prefer Lupfers, but they're pretty similar. I mean, this is how you gotta... I haven't done nearly enough E's. Remember a dance teacher once, I was working on a sequence, and the teacher said, don't practice it until you get it right. Practice it until you can't get it wrong, basically, was what they said. So that's sort of the goal. And I'm a bit flighty when I do my practice. I bounce from thing to thing to thing in playtime and whatnot. But I need to do a lot more E's and practice hard on them. Thanks a lot, MM. It's a good quote. It's very much stuck with me. Who was the teacher that said that? I believe that was my good friend from Los Angeles, Chris Dupre, dance teacher, choreographer. This is fun practice, this is true. Well, lately I've been quite busy, so this is a bit of both at the moment. I'm doing quite a few drilly type practice today. There is a signature that was posted on the Discord that once I do this C for a bit, I might take a stab at it. It was pretty wackadoo. It's pretty crazy. It was an old Courtney signature that I wouldn't mind taking a swing at. See if I can wrap my head around it. Okay, so that's the idea. It needs to smooth out there, but keep that nice curve. What I want all the way up here. No drastic change in the curviness like here. We have a perch. Here even a little bit. That nice curve to continue. And then I need to figure out up here. I don't want to slow down because it ends up getting pointy when I slow down, but I gotta figure out what I gotta do to make that look correct. Funny shaped exit ovals, except for that one as well. Then we gotta iron out. That's sort of it. I got that kink in there, though. What's everybody up to? Are you guys writing? Are you watching TV? Are you eating breakfast? Are you eating dinner? Are you drinking? Curious. Hello, Cliff. Good morning to you as well. Where are you posting from, Cliff? Out of curiosity? Oh, fixing the shirt you made last week. All right. You know, Swinny, if you just used a dip pen, that wouldn't be a problem. Oof. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Kenya! Wow! Welcome! Kenya in the house! Right on. I do believe you are the first viewer that I know of anyways who comes from Kenya. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning to you. I'll give a quick, because there's quite a few of them today. Welcome to all of the lurkers in the chat as well. Nothing wrong with lurking, but welcome to all of you. The finest penman in Kenya. That's quite a title. You need a new desk, Swinny? Oh. Mentioned on the ink tank. Well, there we go. There's my terrible memory. Showing itself once again. Sorry, Cliff. Was that during one of the letters? Cliff, did you write into the ink tank? Now I'm trying to remember when you were mentioned. My memory is not that great, unfortunately. My apologies. When's the next episode of Ink Tank coming out? It's been a while, has it not? There's 2 spots. My nib wants to go those 2 directions instead of smooth flowy. Pick up the pace a little bit more. Smooth it out. It's better. Oh, snazzy Ojaswini. Do I choose my stream music to help me keep my writing pace? No, not at all. My stream music is just a royalty-free playlist from Spotify. I actually don't listen to it at all when I'm... I have to actively try to ignore it when I'm doing a lot of my drills. Every once in a while, there's a drill or writing that will flow with the music, but for the most part, not the case. Usually I have to actively ignore it, which is difficult being a dancer. But yeah, I just have to pretend it's not there. Right now, for example, what's going on, Yoshi? If I was going with the music, this would be my tempo, which I could use that technically. I was going like 1, 2, 3, 4, get the whole thing done with the music, but I usually don't. It is indeed. Specifically why I like listening to playlists like this, which are just lo-fi. They don't have like a very strong beat that I feel like I want to follow. Architects gotta have big old drafting tables. That's better. That's the idea. Oh, I didn't even do that one on camera, sorry. I know my way around a really large desk, 10.5 foot long. I was gonna buy something from IKEA, but I couldn't get anything the right size. they didn't have anything big enough. That was real wood. I didn't want like a particle board one. So I had to make it myself. DIY. But it has been one heck of a slow project. Oh, that's a good shade. It was like a gray shade. Both of those. This one and this one. Gray Shade Society shades. Custom madeist. I would say for what I needed made, buying it would be about this, similar price. It's just the time. If I had a shop, like if I was back on my parents' farm building things, I would have a shop or a garage so I could stain everything all at once, clear coat it all at once. But in my little apartment here, I don't have a ton of space. So my balcony can only fit the desktop, basically. It's the size of my balcony. Luckily it fits out there, so I can do the staining outside. And then it rained last night, so I brought it inside so I can do the clear coat, because the clear coat is water-based, not oil-based, so it doesn't smell bad. I can do that indoors, but it takes up my entire living room. That is pretty good. My shade is a bit longer than Lupfer's on that one. A bit longer. More so similar to Donner's, maybe? Close. I think IKEA does have solid wood tabletops, because the top of my leather cutting table, I have a 6-foot leather cutting table. That's from IKEA, and it's solid wood, and it's heavy. But they don't make that long enough for what I needed for behind me. And then their longer desks, I also don't think were 10.5 feet, and they were a veneer, I believe. Darner, Darner, HL Darner. Oops. Creatrium. Oh, so that's quite deep. Some crazy place where penmen hang out. It's also what I call my apartment. Before the Creatrium Discord existed, Creatrium is the name I give my creative space. It's my... I call it a studio if this is my studio. It's the name of my studio. Understandable, Odriswinny. That's a long time to wait. That exit oval was no good on that one. Alright, Eric. Thanks for hanging out. We will talk to you very soon. Sleep well. You keep... Yeah, that's how it is with IKEA, just Winnie. They're always out of something. Cut it in a little too soon on that one. Not bad. This is something I fall victim to relatively often as well, right there. The hairline before the shade starts, instead of going smoothly into a nice shade, it goes... Gets that angle when the shade starts, sort of as it goes in. But it has that flat little bit. You can see it happened as well on that one, and a little bit on that one. How do the numbers look? I don't have any numbers in the printout that I have here today. Paper moved. Suggestions of the T shading trying to creep in? Oh, the flat top bit. I don't know if that's really what's happening. It's the, I know my fingers have a tendency of anticipating when a shade is coming. It happens in the E a lot, and they get excited and they make the shade almost too quick. It happens a lot when you do, like, capital stems. It's that, like, we get a little, like, almost excited or jumpy on that. And it can make things be a little too... You get weird shapes and a little too aggressive. Versus if you can maintain relaxation, there's no, like, speed up or snap of the towel really required. I know some people will teach it that it's like a wha at the end, like a snap. But it really, I feel like, doesn't have to be. The ink or the nib can naturally... Let me do one less angle than that. Like that, just nice and smooth. Like it's still gonna snap because of just the shape that the tines have to go, but less of a whoosh and more of just a smooth, basically. In a perfect world, the tempo never changes. The movement doesn't need to change other than when it hits that point right there. But from there, it just has to come down nice and smooth. Like doing this one, it's easy to get like aggressive and do a snap at the bottom instead of just letting it flow like that one. Oh shoot, I didn't even do that one on camera, but that one came out basically perfect, and it was just a very nice smooth transition down. So I have the habit of my fingers, my hand kind of stresses out, for lack of a better word. And part of that, I mean, a big part of that is lack of regular practice, since I was out of town for a long time. Not a good excuse, but so the more you do it and the more you get used to it, the more your hand will relax and just let it happen, basically, which is always the goal. Oops. I always found that weird. I don't like doing the C's looping under the baseline. It never looks good when I do it like that. That's better. Gray Shade Society. One of them engrosser script dudes. How long you been doing engrosser script, Clip? Hello, Alex. Will I be in San Antonio? Yet to be decided. I run a dance competition that week, so I am not currently going to be there. If things change, I will obviously want to go, but as of right now, not there. A year, right on. Well, welcome to your engrosser script journey. Do I say it Alexandru? Do I pronounce the U on the end Alexandru? Out of curiosity? Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome to the live stream. Thank you very much, Cliff. Sorry that today's stream is just me writing letters over and over and over again. Trying to iron out some kinks in a couple letters tonight. That's better. Splendid is a beautiful word. It's a very good word. I concur. Oops. Keep writing off screen today. Oops, oops, oops. Losing that curve underneath. You have a nib holder with another angle for the nib. I'm curious, like a straight holder? Just like a... Does the nib just come out straight, or is it an oblique holder like this? But just slightly different angle than mine. Anastasia? I don't... Anastasia? Anastasi? Anastasi? Sorry. Chocolate cake. That sounds yummy. Nice. I've been on a, not allowing myself dessert for the past little bit. And it's tough. I have no sweets or anything desserty in my apartment, and it makes me sad. The closest thing to dessert for me right now at home is like tea with honey in it. 8 to 10 layers, dang. That sounds delicious. I am definitely that way. Lene, with cookies. Cookies are my kryptonite. If I have chocolate chip cookies in my apartment, they are gone, no matter how many there are. There could be a ton, and within like a day or two, gone. It's a problem. Always has been. Me and cookies are a dangerous combination. You wonder what my everyday handwriting looks like? Well, let me show you. So I will, disclaimer, I don't use cursive or handwriting every day. I only use handwriting when I'm doing penmanship, when I'm doing Spencerian or business penmanship or something like that, which I don't do every day unless I'm practicing. My everyday writing, I'll just do it with a, well, here I can actually I'll use a fountain pen. Is there ink in this one? Yeah. Whoopsies. Oh, I smudged a good one. Oh well. So I would be right at a more angle than this if I was just taking notes. Was there ink in this? It's dry. There we go. There we go. That's how I write every day. That's very fine. You can't really see it that great. That's how all my notes are written. Yeah, it's a very messy, all capitals like an architect script. When I was in grade 10, I believe it was, I took a drafting course in high school. And you had to learn to write, like, you had to do all the letters exactly clean and whatnot. And I got used to writing that way. And then I just started writing capitals all the time. And then I write very, very tiny, 90% of the time. So this is just how I started writing. It's not very clean. A lot of times my pen doesn't actually leave the paper, so it's almost like a cursive capitals sometimes, a little bit. And then I remember a teacher in school got really mad at me because they when I wrote in all capitals in school, they would say I couldn't do that because they need to know when I'm using a capital or when I'm using a lowercase, but the capitals are much bigger. It's very easy to tell when I'm using a capital or not. So yeah, that's how I write every time, all the time. Yeah, we're just funny. There we go. The architect in the room. Yeah, I rarely write cursive when I'm not actively practicing or doing something with the intention of it being penmanship. It's like when I'm doing penmanship, it's like if I was sitting down at an easel to paint or something like that. What I do with my dip pen and when I'm doing penmanship is in my brain completely separate from just writing. Even if I was using, like, I can use a fountain pen, and sometimes the fountain pen will be like note-taking. If it's just everyday writing, or other times I'll sit down and actually want to work on like business penmanship or something like that. So it all depends, but it's never really, it's only penmanship when I'm actively working on penmanship, when I'm wanting to be a penman. Oh, my caps in class were definitely not shabby. I mean, this was high school, so this was many, many years ago, and I didn't write it messy. It was very clean, very precise, and very perfect when I would write in school. That's not the case now. And actually, like, I can show in my, like, journal. Let's see if this will focus. As an example, what do we got in here? Something to show. Penmanship t-shirt ideas, which we talk about all the time. So they're not always messy. They're often quite clean, but like I said, extremely tiny. Very, very tiny when I write in my journal and whatnot. But not messy because I focus more than when I'm just randomly everyday writing. That's supposed to be what is called a commonplace book, or where I take all of my notes and basically offload my brain into that book. I need to get back in the habit of using it. I use it pretty good for a while. You'd get hit. Lene, penmanship in the 1800s, like what we call penmanship, they call it penmanship as well. Because, like, what if we want to improve our handwriting, we like Palmer method or business penmanship, things like that. In like the late 1800s, early 1900s, that was standard penmanship. Like my grandparents, my grandmother, her writing basically looks like the writing that I'm trying to emulate. Not so much, not ornamental penmanship with the shades and all that kind of stuff. That was sort of reserved for ornamental writing. And there were a lot more penmen that did ornamental penmanship back then. But just basic penmanship, everybody had, I feel like, nice penmanship back then because everybody practiced it. They did it all in school, and a lot in school. Yeah, you can splurge on fancy paper because you don't use nearly as much. $1mm. I like 1mm. To 50 millimeters? That's big. 50 millimeters? That's a very big letter. 5 centimeters? It would look weird if I didn't have like a marker or something. I was just writing with a regular pen. It would look funny. I can imagine. Oops, focus. I feel like I would have quite a bit of fun if I was in school for something I actually wanted to do. Like if I was in school for architecture, or if I was in school for design, or for something like that. I've never done that, and I feel like that'd be fun. I feel like I write about probably like between 1 and 1.5. My regular note-taking writing is actually it's about 1. Yeah, I would say about 1mm is what my standard writing is. I remember once in grade... What grade would it have been in? 5 or 6. I was in elementary school, and we had a substitute teacher. Mr. MrMGWard was his name, because our teacher was out on... She was having a baby. And Mr. MrMGWard... I was not a fan of Mr. MrMGWard. So, to be a brat to Mr. MrMGWard, I wrote one of my stories, or one of my assignments, so small that he legitimately needed to use a magnifying glass to grade it, to read it. I wrote it as small as I possibly could. We used to have little challenges in my class around that time to see who could write the smallest and things like that, because I liked writing really small. And yeah, he annoyed me one day, so I wrote a story, I think it was a story, small enough that he had to use a magnifying glass to read it. It was extremely tiny. Might have actually been in, it was either in printing or in cursive, I can't remember. Because this was before the drafting course, so I definitely wasn't in all capitals. It could have actually been in cursive back then. Why didn't you get a section liner? They existed? Section liners don't exist now. They existed a long time ago. I guess before you were in school, I guess. I love my section liners. I need to do a new section liner project. My fault. Sorry. I think the Creatrium logo design, or I think I'm gonna Creatrium, essentially it's gonna be a t-shirt, but it's gonna be like a Creatrium established in 20 whatever, whenever I started the Discord. That'll be my next section lined piece, I think, when I get some time. Break out the section liners. My ink vortex takes us. It's my time traveling device. And Einstein needed a ink vortex. Click your tap shoes and dive into a bowler hat. I mean, it'd be a good movie. It'd be like a Bedknobs and Broomsticks style movie. Could be that. Tap shoes and bowler hats. Doesn't have the same ring to it though. It'd have to be called something like I'm trying to think, like tap shoes, Rubik's cubes, and bowler hats. Bowler hat, Rubik's cubes, tap shoes. Oh, traffic cones. Traffic cones could be in there for sure. Don't forget to ride on a Nimbus. We're talking Dragon Ball Z now? Ay, 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 we're all over the place. Harry Potter. Oh, on a Nimbus 2000. Well, Nimbus is also, is it not the name of the cloud that Goku rides in? Somebody has to Google this now and fact check me here, but I'm pretty sure Nimbus is the name of the cloud that Goku rides in Dragon Ball Z, or in Dragon Ball. Pretty sure. I could be wrong though. Well, yeah, that's why he rode on the cloud called Nimbus, because it was a Nimbus cloud. Cumulonimbus, isn't that what it's called? Oh, what Greek god was it that had the wings on his shoes? I can't remember. Yes. Living in a sea of C's right now. So I haven't really been thinking of shortening up my shades. Start doing that now. Some of them are they're all cutting off before the baseline, which is good. But I can try to cut them off a little bit sooner, I think. That's the idea. I think that's the best one yet tonight. And I wrecked it with a bad lowercase l. Off angle. C is an easier letter for me than E. The thing with I'm not consistent all the time. That's the problem with sort of both of the letters. But with C, the issues I have with C don't make the letter like super bad. They don't make it super good either, but they're not huge problems. Whereas with the E, when something goes wrong, it's much more apparent. It's really just getting that, like this one has it, which is good, that nice continuing curve underneath. Because if I can fix it in my C, it will fix itself in my L's and my S's and my other letters that have the horizontal entry oval and an undercurve going into the letter. Oh, it is midnight. And none of my auto stuff is turned on, I'm now realizing, since I was out of town. So what do we gotta do here? I gotta turn all my timers back on. Whoops. I was supposed to do that before we started today. But we gotta do a little bit of this. And a little bit of this. A little bit of this. Wait a minute. A little bit of that. After the fact. And then we need to change the music to where are we here? I don't know what this station's like, but we're gonna find out. As we go into our late night live, or sorry, blacklight live. We gotta put cap on the ink. It's not a smooth process like it used to be. We gotta also do a little of this. Oh, pink. That's very bright pink. I need to do a little bit of this. What are we doing here? Yeah. So you can see me. Oh, that's very bright. And then some darker paper. Ooh, I'm like glowing. Is that too bright? Let's see how the ink works. That's the whole reason I wore this shirt. So if we went to blacklight, it would glow. I'm glowy. But it could be glowing a little too much. I could turn down the camera a smidge. How does the writing look? We don't have to make it pink. We can keep things normal. I'm not nearly as glowy when I'm normal, I guess. I don't have the halo when I'm glowy. Or when I'm not pink. But the writing is pretty dark. Why? Is it the placement of the black light? Curious. I feel like it's not as light on the paper as it normally is, which is interesting. Which is rather strange. Oh yeah, you can't really see the hairlines on the camera. That's no good. That's no good at all. Is it because the glide sheet is so bright that the camera's... Nope, because it looks the same that way. I don't know how to make it brighter. I mean, that one definitely makes them brighter, so that works. But there we go. There, at least you can see the lowercase letters now. Better than before. He's just messing around with it. The setup is different than before I went out of town. But this'll work. For now. Is it too noisy? Yeah, it's... I don't know if it's possible to get it fully glowy without it being noisy. The way everything is currently positioned. I feel like the paper is... Something is off with the paper. Feels different than I feel like it used to. I don't know why that would be. But the hairlines feel, even to my eye, not in the camera, feel very, very light. I did have a beige glide sheet before. But the pink glide sheet shouldn't make... I mean, the hairlines will still look the way they look now. mean, not really. I have my studio lights. They're big pancake lights. I guess that would be considered special lighting for shooting content. I don't really shoot a lot of content these days, though. But my apartment lights are basically video lights. They're two big studio lights. Paper feels really like super scratchy, which is odd. It's scratchier than Rhodia, but it's usually not that scratchy. Wild graffiti. I wish. I don't do graffiti, but I wish I did. I am a fan of graffiti, but I've never actually done any. I want to paint a train one day. That would be cool. That'd be fun. Yeah. I'd love to get permission to do one day. It'd be super fun. I don't know if I've used this playlist after hours before. Don't know how I feel about it yet. I guess I could get rid of the glide sheet. Harder to write in a straight line when I don't have a glide sheet, though. Nope, I want to keep the glide sheet. Sorry, I know it's bright and pink on the bottom of the screen. How's it going, Andreas? So what this is, during my late night lives, if we hit midnight and we're chilling and it's a fun time, the lights turn off, the music changes, the black light turns on, and we write in blacklight. Normally the music is, I think I'm gonna change I was trying a different playlist, but I feel like this is a little too chill. It's called Hype Tracks, but this track is not very hype. So we're gonna see, is this more hype? I don't know. These are all new additions to my playlists, but this is maybe a little more up the alley that we're looking for. So we do some party writing. New edition? You mean music-wise? I can't play new edition, I'll get copyright strikes. I can't use any actual music that people know. But this paper is acting really curious. Because normally I feel like my writing looks nicer on this paper, even to my own eye. The camera is having trouble with it, but the hairlines are very, very fine. More so than normal, which is curious. I mean, it's a fine nib, but it's not that fine. Did I turn on the stir vortex? No, I didn't. Not yet. I can't risk going back in time. I'm not finished in this time yet. Oh. Ooh. Try that again. Oh, awesome, Andreas. That's great. I'm glad that Rajiv's videos brought you to me. That's awesome. Rajiv's videos were a lot of fun to film. Hopefully I get to shoot with him again one of these days. Or one of these months. Who knows? He's a busy guy and we live on opposite sides of the continent. There are plenty of lives. If you're ever feeling like writing and you want to just have something to listen to, there are hundreds and hundreds of hours of these late night lives on YouTube now. Possible. Well, this ink, the vortex wouldn't help this ink. The blacklight ink doesn't have any sediment to dissolve, so it doesn't need the vortex. $137 times 3.5. Yeah, I would say around there. What do you think? What's the shortest live we've ever done? That's great, Andres. Yeah, there's plenty of content there. There's been a few people that have come into it after the fact and have slowly made their way through the videos and caught up. It's like watching a TV series. After it's been going on for a number of seasons. Eventually you'll catch up, but there's a whole lot of watching there. I'll try a piece of paper from the middle of the pile. Maybe it's different. Or does this paper have a top side and a bottom side that I'm not aware of? Oh, that ink spill one might have been the shortest, I guess, yeah. That was traumatic. Oh, UK Mike, the OG replay watcher. Yep, he is all caught up now. It could have been. Oh, I don't spill ink very often, luckily. Luckily, knock on wood. Sounds good, Clip. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you soon. I like to be a clean penman, a clean artist, where I don't get ink everywhere all the time, luckily. Remember in school, people used to say that about artists, saying things like, if you don't have paint on your shirt or on your pants, are you really a true artist? And that always bugged me, because I never had paint anywhere. I was clean. I prefer to be clean. Yeah, that one was panicky. I had reached and I tipped my entire jar of white ink right into my power bar on the other side of my desk. And then the lights, one of the lights shut off, I feel like, and then I shut the power bar off real quick. And then I immediately shut the live off. Or no, when it fell into the power bar, I think the power bar turned itself off. So all the lights went off immediately. Yeah, that one was intense. Bleached hands. Bleached fingertips. Well, yeah, anytime I use like OxyClean or something on clothes, or if I was cleaning anything, I remember getting the OxyClean reacts super strong with the black light, and my hands were all glowy and funny. It was very stressful. Luckily, only one of the power bar was fine, and one of my smart plugs died, but only one, which was good. My S's are not feeling very solid today. That's better. That's what we want. I don't mind. I think my hands were fine with it. It's just under the black light they get very glowy. I mean, I have gloves. I guess I could wear gloves. But, I still have that smart plug, I think, somewhere. I don't know why. Andreas, when I'm in town, when I'm home, I go live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I think that's where we're now, Vancouver time. But every week, from 9 p.m. until whenever I decide to get off, which is usually sometime between 11:30 and like 1 a.m. usually. Yeah, that was the longest one when we did Little Red Riding Hood. I want to do another one of those, another story. What's another good story? It's about the same length, could be a little shorter than Little Red Riding Hood, but another similar story. I will one day. At least I assume I will. But I need a good like task, something that I need to accomplish. Otherwise, I'll just get bored chilling here for 6 hours. But what's a good story? Any ideas? Oh, we could do some Shakespeare. I guess Jack and the Beanstalk. Any of those, any fairy tales, I suppose. I gotta go through books of fairy tales and see what are some good ones. Hansel and Gretel. Nursery rhymes, but nursery rhymes are too short. Need to be a little longer than that, I guess. We definitely... Have I ever done the Christmas Carol? I haven't. I guess I've recited the Christmas Carol, but I've never actually written it on stream. We definitely need to do a Christmas Carol one around Christmas time. We'll put that in the calendar for this year. Shakespeare. I don't really have a Shakespearean accent. Shakespeare would be quite fun. I don't know very much Shakespeare, though. Jack and the Beanstalk would be good. Yeah, and you gotta think of some other... Why can't I think of... I'm drawing a complete blank of some other stories, like Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk. I can't think of any others. Wait, A Christmas Carol would be long. I thought you were thinking The Night Before Christmas. Christmas Carols, that's long. I can't do the whole Christmas Carol. That would be like... We'd have to break that up into like... That'd be more than a month worth of streams doing Christmas Carol. Three Little Pigs would be a fun one. Sleeping Beauty. I gotta see how long those actual stories are. Aren't those stories a lot longer than Little Red Riding Hood? Little Red Riding Hood was like definitely as long as I can go in a stream. That was a first for writing a story. Peter Rabbit would be cute. But also fun to do a stream, I guess, with a bunch of nursery rhymes. Much shorter ones, but just not just one, but do a whole bunch of nursery rhymes. It sounds like I have some research to do. next week we'll probably do some initial connection challenges, because those are always fun. It was fun. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of... Well, I haven't done much, any signature work since I've been home from my trip. So yeah, that was fun. I'm worried. This paper doesn't, I feel like, work as good as it did before I left. Maybe I'm crazy and it didn't work good before I left, and I just thought it did. But it's not as good as I thought it was for blacklight. Or I have multiple batches of it and this is a bad batch. I'm curious, maybe. Because my hairlines don't like this paper very much, which is unfortunate. Yeah. I will have to do some tests with the lights on to see how things feel. If anything, my nib is too new. Could also be the issue. Maybe I need to have specific, more slightly broader nibs for the black light ink, so the hairlines are a little bit thicker, perhaps. Ooh, that was a good one. Yeah, that P was valid. Gonna have to do some dedicated lowercase practice one of these days as well, because they are rusty. Indian folk stories. Greek mythology stories could be fun as well, potentially. Now that I think about it. Aesop's Fables would also be very fun. I agree. Yeah, sounds like I got some research to do to find some. I'll find a list of stories and fables, and we'll start to do some of those. Fill some more books, maybe. Maybe I'll do like an actual, not one of my landscape books, but an actual like hardcover book. If I can finagle some way to do some stories in those. Ooh. Not in English is potentially a little bit challenging. Fun. Well, I think that is it. It's 1:45. I think that is it for me tonight, everybody. As always, thank you very, very, very much, everybody, for hanging out with me tonight. This was fun. I'm glad we made it to the black light. Sorry that the video is a little on the grainy side. I'll try to find some time this week to do some experimenting with the paper and the ink and the lighting and see if I can figure out if or how I can make it look a little bit better for you guys. But yeah, this was a fun one. Glad we made it to midnight. It's been a while, obviously. Make sure that you are falling in love with the process. And don't forget, everybody, that life should be just a bit of silliness, really. Good night. See you next time. Bye-bye.